I kind of want to do Halo stuff. This is my problem with Halo. From 5 and Infinite is that there was I said this earlier in the stream, is that they required a lot. It required a lot of reading materials that I didn't have access to. So this says here, I was checking the Reddit. So after 4, some of it was covered in a comic. It's currently 22 issues. Um, what happened between Halo 4 and 5? The best I can remember, the comics of Escalation, 72 hours, wrap up the Didact and Librarian story. The animosity between Halsey and Palmer and Immunity of the Blue Team. The New Blood book is about Buck and becoming a Spartan. They become part of Osiris. Hunted in the Dark Veil becomes a Spartan. Yeah, and then there's the other books for the other people. Radius fights a prelate, prophet, super soldier, and a female elite. Another comic of Tanaka's past, and then Nightfall short TV live action series of Locke before being Spartan under Oni. And then Bad Blood is set between 5 and Infinite. New Blood takes place before Halo 5. So let's go over. We're gonna go over the Halo escalation stuff. We're gonna go issue at a time. This might take. Oh, there's 24 issues total. So we're gonna go issue at a time here, and because I think they all have their own pages, so we're gonna do that. Okay, main article. Let's go here. Issue number 1. Okay, it's a small paragraph, so this will be fine. Issue number 1 opens with Commander Sarah Palmer and Fireteam Jackknife inside Unity Infinity's training simulation deck. Their war game session is interrupted by Captain Thomas Lasky. So Sarah Palmer, there's Palmer right there. Looks like the dialogue is cut out. Training simulation deck. Their war game session is interrupted by Captain Thomas Lasky, who asks to speak with Commander Palmer. Lasky informs her that they have been requested to appear before the Unity Security Council at HighCom Facility Bravo 6. Okay, so here's another image of them. So there's another them in the war games. That's Jackknife. I like how hers is so much more detailed because she's in the game. So here's HighCom Facility Bravo 6. This is probably this is the council. Oh, it's Admiral Hood. Admiral Hood's back. Don't know who any of the other people are. Let me hit the back button here so I can put this back here. Great, awesome. Let me get rid of this first image then. Alright, great. At the hearing, the council expresses misgiving about Lasky's handling of the Requiem campaign. So it's the council. Admiral Sarian Osman. Oni. Of course it's Oni. Berates Lasky over the complete destruction of Requiem and the failed assassination of Dr. Catherine Halsey. Osman, they asked Palmer if Lasky had sent Fireteam Majestic to stop her from eliminating Halsey, wanting to protect Lasky from any ramifications. Palmer lies and tells Osman that the Majestic was there as backup. Shortly after, Admiral Hood from Halo 2 and 3 arrives on board Infinity to speak with Lasky. He tells Lasky that the UNSC Vociferous is assigned to pursue Jul Mdama, who's the elite leader at the time, or not the elite leader, he's the Covenant leader that's an elite at the time, as he needs Infinity to aid in peace talks between the Sangheili and Jirul Hane. 2 days later, Infinity arrives at Elan 4. Lord Hood meets with the Arbiter, Del Vadum, and the Brute Chieftain Litus. Lasky, Palmer, and Jackknife join the delegates inside the Plasma Center as Paul DeMarco of Majestic and Fireteam Bailey act as Overwatch. The delegation is caught off guard when the Covenant mercenaries blast into the conference chamber. The Spartan force defend the delegation and escort them to the nearby parts depot. When the evacuation shuttle is destroyed, with communication through orbiting fleets blocked, and the delegation left with reinforcements. So there's the Infinity. This is looks like Oni lady. Here's the Covenant busting in. This must be, not Arbiter, obviously, so this must be Thel Vadum. There's them fighting the Covenant. There's the Chieftain leader, which is this Arbiter. These men are clearly not mine. Oh, that's Arbiter, I guess. That's some fancier armor. Whoosh. Cool. Issue 1 to 3 focus Unity's Infinity's mission to provide security for Sangheili Jirul peace delegation, and the struggle to survival after Covenant forces under the command of Vata Gajat attack the conference. In issues 4 to 6, Infinity Crew tracked down the spy in UNSC's ranks who leaked down the location of negotiations of the Covenant on New Alliance and captured Daniel Clayton, the true mastermind behind the attack. Issue 7 focused on Spartan Gabriel Thorne's trip to reopen New Phoenix to receive closure for the grandmother's death. Man, we gotta skip. In 8, 9, and 10 form a news story arc called The Next 72 Hours, which details Spartan John 1 was sent to fate immediately after the events of 4. So maybe we should skip to that, because this seems like politics. Maybe we won't look at the images of all these. Issue number 2 opens with a delegation attempting to reestablish communication with the orbiting fleet. The Arbiter informs Lord Hood of the planet's fortifications as means for the escape route. Captain Lasky orders Commander Palmer to get the ambassadors to the readout. Palmer tasks Spartan Naya Ray to escort Lasky and utilize her SIGINT background to reestablish communications. Blah, 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 blah. The company makes their way through the service conduits. Blah, blah, blah. Spartans got Palmer and Fire Team Jack to move around the readout while Hood reaches the downed elite. Hood discovers a UNSC data pad containing information on the Spartans and believes someone is leaking information. Blah, 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 blah. Issue 3 opens with Lasky and Ray attacking Covenant base, destroying the reactor. Lytus continues to express his skepticism over whether the peace talk will succeed. Hood tells him the Girolane will need Lytus as a leader if they want to survive. Blah, 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 blah. Lasky informs Infinity of the Covenant's attack upon being updated on the crisis between Sangheili and Girolina. Lasky contacts the fleet and asks them to cease their fighting and send their forces to the delegates. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, here we go. On the New Phoenix incident, their covert campaign against the Sangheili and John Williams has a recent disappearance. Palmer then shoots Lord Hood in the leg, tackles Scruggs, and briefs... Wait, what? In the readout, Scruggs continues to hold Hood hostage and denies that he is working for the insurrectionists and indicates that he is aware of some of Oni's secrets. Issue 4 opens with the Infinity under attack by the unknown adversary using UNSC aircraft. The story comes back 74 hours earlier with Lasky and Hood discussing the failed peace negotiations at Elance 4. Let's get the Prowler he requested is ready for departure. However, he expresses a confusion as to what their mission involves, so that he'll let her know when they leave. Blah blah blah. The only where they rendezvous with Lasky's contact, Lasky asks Ray what her name is, which she reveals to be Naya. Blah 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 blah. Back to Castellano, Lasky tells Petra that they need help rooting out a mole in the UNSC. Petra agrees to do the job, but wants the whereabouts of John 17 in exchange. Back aboard the Infinity, Hood and Bradley inspect the remains of the aircraft. Blah blah blah. They run an ID check on the vessels and trace the craft back to the UNSC Spirit of Fire. Before they file a report on the ship, Hood reveals that he was the reason why the starship went missing. Wait, what? Back in because you find out by location by classified. Wait, but why is that significant? Because the Spirit of Fire is from Halo Wars. Issue 5 opens with Lasky and Ray and Petra arriving at the training port of Karava. Set out to meet Petra's informant. Colonies melting out. Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, in the Infinity, Roland begins his presentation of what he's found about the Pilgrim's Pride. It was supposedly built 5 years ago, despite its assault craft being from the Spirit of Fire, which has been missing for 30 years. Palmer suggests that the craft were smuggled off beforehand, but Roland disagrees as the craft were in too good a condition. Moving on, he reveals that the ship's logs were wiped and then filled with false data. Despite that, he was able to retrieve the real data coordinates from where it originated. Offloaded on a gas giant located deep in Girolane space. Before progressing any further, Hood decides that it's time to let everyone know the history he and James Cutter had. Hood served as an XO in the Spirit of Fire under Captain Cutter. It was Cutter who made sure Hood got his own ship, a UNSC Roman Blue. 3 months later, at Hood new posting, they got word from the conflict on Arcadia. As the Spirit of Fire jumped out of the system, it dropped a log buoy that Roman Blue was assigned to retrieve. At that point in time, Arcadia was deemed lost. The Roman Blue was not to engage Covenant forces. However, Hood was tired of humanity's losses and engaging Covenant forces. Overwhelmed, Hood was forced to retreat. Because of his recklessness, the buoy was never recovered and the Spirit of Fire was never found. Oh, with the Spirit's possible location found, Palmer expresses that the ship might not even be there. Hood orders Palmer to conduct a search and rescue operation without being detected, deployed an OF-92 booster frames to scout the system. Palmer and the fire team Majestic have their op handled by Miller. Not wanting to listen to Miller, Palmer shuts off comms under the guise of losing the signal in an asteroid field. Blah, 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 blah. Palmer radios Hood and informs him what they have found and that the Spirit is not here. Blah, blah, blah. Gained on the business that reveals that the forces who attacked the Peace Summit were led by Vata Gajat, a Sangheili mercenary he used to work for Jules Mandama, and before that served as a soldier in the Covenant. Blah, 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 blah. Ambassador to Sangheilios and the one who set up the meeting. Concluding the meeting, Lasky confides to Ray and Petra that Captain Clayton is Cutter's son. Oh. That reveals who the NSC mole is. Captain Daniel Clayton. Oh, the mole is Cutter's son? On board the Covenant space station, Klain talks to Gaja about his father, revealing he is an illegitimate son, and that he and his mother were taken care of even after Cutter's disappearance. Soon after, Infinity jumps in the system right in front of the space station, expecting this. Klain opens a channel to Infinity, talking to Hood. He identifies him as being the one who sent his mother and him money because he was the one responsible for the spirit's disappearance. At the same time, Hood greased the wheels for Klain, making him feel like the entire Unity career was built off of nepotism. Upset at feeling that he never accomplished anything, he turned to Admiral Mattias Drake, a leader of the New Colonial Alliance, when he offered him an opportunity. Feeling that he had intended for Scruggs to kill Hood, he announces that he lured the Infinity to the station to kill Hood. He orders the station's glassing cannon to fire on the Infinity, piercing all the way through the side of the ship. Holy shit, they fired a glassing cannon through the Infinity? Damn. Okay. Issue 6. Issue 6 opens with the Hood remembering his actions during his military career and marching the chaos on the Infinity after 3 successful attacks of the station's glassing cannon. Commander Bradley is killed during the attack, and Hood himself is impaled, blaming himself for letting the Infinity fall into a trap. Palmer and Majestic proceed to board the station and stop Klain with glassing cannon overheats. Blah blah. 3 days later, the Unicy sends a task force comprising a cruiser, a Sharon-class frigate, and a Paris-class frigate to repair the Infinity and monitor the station. Cruiser's like in red. At the same time, Lasky and Ray return to the Infinity after his mission with Petra and Karava. Palmer apologizes to Lasky for her behavior after the battle on Elend 4. Lasky forgives Palmer and tells her that his mission to find the spy having been a success, failed to report to the Unicy in time to prevent the attack. Palmer tells him it was Hood's fault for making decisions without his consent, and Klain Cell Hood, now in a wheelchair, visits him and asks him why Admiral Drake wanted to destroy the Infinity despite wanting to capture it 5 years before. Klain tells Hood the NCA is stronger than before and have agents on every colony, even Earth. Hood orders it to his men to take Klain to Midnight Facility, but Klain tells him that they will meet again. After this encounter, Hood wonders if the Unicy will find the Spirit of Fire, wishing to find Cutter and ask for his forgiveness. In an unknown system, the Spirit of Fire drifts near a terrestrial planet. Inside, the ship is in a full evacuation alert, and a lone flood infection form is seen scurrying across the Spirit's now vacant cryo storage room. Wait, the flood's back? Oh, okay. So this must be where Halo Wars 2 begins, is right here. Which is weird, because I was told it takes place after 5, but if the cryo storage room is empty, then that means that, yeah, abandoned ship. Yeah, it's right here. It's already open. There's the Spirit of Fire. Yeah, everything's open. So is this before? I mean, I guess we'll find out in Halo Wars 2. Supposedly this takes place after 5, is what I've read online. I could be mistaken. Issue 7 opens with Thorn remembering his childhood in New Phoenix from his parents, but both of them Unicy Army officers died on Alluvion. On board Ozaka Station, Thorn is awakened by Grant, who can't sleep well. Let me raise this, because now I'm sitting up straight. Thorn and Grant talk about the former nightmares about the new attack on New Phoenix 8 months ago. While exploring the house, Thorn enters a room and discovers a holographic panel with Mozart music and violin belonging to his grandmother. Grant tells Thorn that he could be happy with Avathon. 2 weeks later, the Infinity was fully repaired, and Thorn no longer has nightmares about New Phoenix. He thanks Grant for the support, and Infinity makes subspace jump. Okay, this is where it's a back-to-back Master Chief, so this one's a little bit more important. Issue 8 opens with John 117 recollecting the events at Requiem, Ivanov Station, and Earth that results in the destruction of Cortana and the disappearance of the Didact. After the flashback, the scene cuts to July 25th, 2557, with John being debriefed by the Unicy Security Council, which had Hood and everyone on it. Master Chief confirms that Cortana and the Composer were both destroyed over Earth, but he was unable to confirm the Didact's death. With there being no proof of the living Forerunner, the Council decides to tell the general public that the attack on New Phoenix was caused by the Covenant and ended by the return of a hero, the Master Chief. Oh, so that's why Thorn and all of them were surprised that they weren't ancient humans. Following his meeting with the Security Council, the Master Chief meets Lord Terrence Hood. He met him in Halo 2. Hood asked the Master Chief if he could advise the team on Installation 03, which is a Halo ring. Is also known as Gamma Halo, is one of the 7 ring-shaped super ones that comprise the formless Halo Ray. Located in the Capre system in the system arm of Milky Way. Blah, blah, blah. To investigate the loss of a contact with the science team, escorted by Spartan Team Black on the ring. Master Chief meets with Blue Team. Blue team is a semi-constant unit composed predominantly of Spartan 2s under the operational command of Unity Navals, generally consisting of around 4 members. It was led by John 117 for most of its activity during the Human Covenant War. Yep, they were introduced in previous novels that I read, consisting of Frederick 104, Kelly 087, and Linda 058. Like, you can tell by the numbers that they were really early on. All right, so Frederick looks like Neil Patrick Harris, really deep. Kelly doesn't have a face. Petty Officer Kelly. Linda. And there's Linda. Born, a phonetic call sign Sierra 058. Born Linda. Yeah, so the S stands for Spartan, but Sierra is the military call sign for S. Anyway. The team takes a JITL-1 longsword to the installation, lands in desert nearby the science team's camp with no response from Team Black. Blue team continues to move towards the science camp. Okay, so he gets debriefed and he immediately relinks with blue team, so that's how that happens. Along the way, Linda spots Promethean crawler footprints in the sand leading towards the camp. Upon entering the camp, they find the bodies of the deceased science team. Fred soon finds the bodies of Team Black dead. While looking for Team Black's killer, the Spartans are attacked by Promethean Knights. After a short firefight, Blue Team destroys the Knights and continues in the desert. The team discovers an uncovered structure in the sand, former location of the Composer. Upon entering the structure, the Spartans discover the Composer's Abyss, a facility used to store victims digitalized by the Composer. At the end of the Abyss, the Spartans discovered a slipspace portal and ponder what to do next. So the Composer was sending stuff, wirelessly to the ring. Meanwhile, so I wonder if the Didact was there because he got composed. Meanwhile, on an unknown world, a monitor flies around on a foreigner city with a moon looming overhead. The monitor speaks to the Didact and solemnly reveals that Blue Team has found the portal. However, the Didact claims that he looks forward to welcoming the Spartans to his world. So, this is stuff that I'm like, you could have made this another game. This could have been a game. There's the Council again. There's a new Phoenix story, harder to sell. If something that could happen to me again. Again, you mean? Yes, with no confirmed kill. There's him talking to Cutter. So this was before he got paralyzed. Because again, this is him when he got debriefed. Oh, this is Linda. Isn't that Linda's helmet? Or is that, a different Spartan team? It looks like this is Fred, and that this is Linda, and then this is, Kelly. Nothing, Chief. No response on any band. Yeah, I like how they all have their helmets off, but he doesn't. Keep trying, Kelly. Yeah, see, that is Kelly. I was right. Linda's still a redhead. There's her longsword. There's the station again. Oh, so the installation was the one that's by the station. That's number 3. This was the science team's last known location. Gamma Halo, Science and Envoy. Do you copy? Everyone's, holy shit, they're fucking dead. Oh, dead Spartans. There's holy shit, he's been decapitated. Contact Promethean Knights, weapons free. Holy shit. And then they find the portal. Oh, look at all the souls. Oh, that's terrifying. There's the monitor. And there's the Didact again. I look forward to welcome to my world. Yeah, like, why wouldn't you let us fight the Didact again? Like, why not make that a game? This is where, like, I'm like, this is stuff that you could have made another game that you just chose not to. Okay, so the next 72 hours, part 2. So this is 72 hours after Halo 4's main campaign. So this is probably happening during the events of Spartan Ops. Great. On installation 3, a day before the events of issue 8, Spartan Black Team observes the multiple inbound slipspace signatures. When the objects crash lands nearby, the Spartans move to examine it. Lying on the bottom of the impact crater is a giant unconscious armored figure unknown to Black. This is the Didact, who awakens shortly after and brutally kills the Spartans, declaring their presence unacceptable. Meanwhile, a monitor appears from the Composer's Abyss, expressing its confusion over the Promethean constructs are present, and wishes to see the Halo's monitor. The monitor approaches the Didact, the latter's armor stained in Black Team's blood, and identifies itself as 859 Static Carillion, the caretaker of an installation called the Composer's Forge, and the keeper of the Composers. Oh, so because that's where he found the Composer, that's where they built it, and that's where they keep all the souls and stuff. Static Carillion explains that it came to the Gamma Halo and inflicted the activation of a service portal. The Didact then asked the monitor to take him to the Composer's Forge. Continuing from the conclusion of the previous issue, Blue Team arrived in a seemingly empty Forerunner city. Having made their way through the portal with the Composer's Abyss, they move further into the city and soon discover 6 Composers. Just before the Didact appears behind the Spartans holding an activation index, the Promethean the activation index, the T thing that activates the Halo rings. The Promethean leader tells Blue Team that they have arrived in the Composer's Forge. Blue Team open fire. To no avail, the Didact stomps the ground, generating shockwave that causes Spartans to stumble. Didact promptly summons more of the Promethean constructs, and frantic firefight breaks out. 859 Static Carillion arrives on the scene and begins to complain that the Didact violating their agreement and having created more of the Promethean Knights. The Didact simply tells the Monitor that the Prometheans will be sent to Requiem shortly. As the Monitor persists in its complaints, the Didact angrily that's how there's more Prometheans there. The Didact angrily grabs Static Carillion and urges it to fulfill its part of their bargain. The Monitor obliges and Installation 03 emerges from the space in the sky overhead. Satisfied, the Didact procures one of the composers and states that he will repair the ring, which has allegedly been damaged by humans. Static Carillion tells the Spartans that the Didact is planning to use the Halo against humanity and Earth. Furthermore, while it's indifferent to mankind's fate, the Monitor takes issues at the Didact's creation of new Prometheans from the humans of New Phoenix, viewing the Prometheans as monsters and abominations and deeming their presence on its installation unacceptable. Static Carillion helps the Spartans retreat back to Gamma Halo portal in pursuit of the Didact, holding off the hordes of Promethean machines. Blue Team returned to the surface of Gamma Halo from Composer's Abyss, making it just in time the Didact's newly obtained Composer. Oh, he makes a new Composer? Rises from the pit. This could have been a game. John follows behind while the Didact attacks and prepares to finish off the others. As the Didact is about to execute Kelly, the Master Chief sneaks behind the Forerunner and stabs in the eye of the combat knife, intending to correct his mistake of not having killed the Spartan when he had the chance. Didact grabs John by the helmet, lifts him up in the air, and squeezes. So there's the cover art. So this is Spartan Team Black. They look like Spartans. They don't look like Spartan 4s. There's a Didact crashing. Composers. Are those all composers? Predictable. Choom. More Prometheans. The plan was a composer was built, but they also bring terror. They bring fear. They bring rage and confusion. This is unacceptable. Oh, he's going rage mode. He's blasting them. To my home. Still, you persist in surviving. Swoop. Oh, shit. Look at that. No more. Oh, and he stabbed him in the face. All right, part 3. Picking up from where issue 9 left off, issue 10 opens having a flashback of his childhood prior to the Spartan 2 conscription. And reflecting on his life while the Didact crushes his helmet, cracking his visor and exposing his left eye. The Master Chief realizes that despite having faced death countless times, he is not ready to die yet. Before the Didact can kill him, however, the rest of Blue Team rush to his rescue. The Didact throws John at Frederick 104, incapacitating the two, while Kelly Owe and Linda engage the Forerunner. However, Didact's armor becomes immune to the Spartans' attacks, and he promptly throws both to the ground. Towering over the Spartans and gloating his victory, the Didact allows Fred to fire his weapon one more time to grant him an honorable death. However, 859 Static Carillion suddenly attacks the Didact from behind, disabling him and translocating him away via an emergency teleport. While the Spartans recover, the Monitor lectures them on the Warrant Servant's ability to tune their armor to enemy weaponry. It is then revealed that the Didact was teleported into the Halo's control room, the most secure location on the ring. While Static Carillion admits that this was a severe tactical error, it reasons that the Didact would have killed the Spartans otherwise and reached the control room anyway. John then picks up the activation index the Didact was previously carrying, stating he knows a weapon he cannot adapt to. Finding himself in the control... Is he going to blast the Halo ring at him? Finding himself in the control room, the Didact expresses puzzlement over the Monitor aiding the humans, yet seemingly furthering his own plans and bringing him to the control room. The Master Chief appears behind him and tells him Blue Team went ahead of him into their ship. The final confrontation is between the two of them. Didact is bewildered about the Spartans' lack of a weapon and apparent attempting a negotiation. John explains to him that since its many attempts to kill the Didact conventionally have failed, he must now take a different approach and insert the index into the core. The Didact asks if the Spartan would fire the Halo just to kill him, and John replies that he initially proposed this, but the Monitor reminded him of the Halo's destructive power. Instead, he will manually disable the Halo's safety protocols, allowing the Monitor to scuttle them into the planet below. Gamma Halo then ejects the entire structural plate housing the control room, sending it down to the Forerunner planet housing the Composer's Forge. Okay, so the Halo ring is above a Forerunner planet. Okay. As the fragment impacts and that's where the Composers were made. As the fragment impacts the Forge, the Master Chief is teleported away while the Didact is digitized by the Composers, disintegrating his body and leaving his smoldering remains to the control center's floor. Oh, yeah, so he does get composed. The rest of the Blue Team look upon the devastation from orbit and wonder if John made it. Just as the Master Chief teleports aboard along with Static Carillion, the Monitor tells the Spartans that it take a moment to stabilize the ring after the plate's ejection. lest the entire Halo be lost. Static Carillion thanks the Spartans for giving it new purpose and explains that it will now take the Halo into safety. Fred asks where, but no response is given. Back on Earth, 72 hours after the attack on New Phoenix, John 117, whose armor and helmet are now fully repaired, is debriefed by Fleet Admiral Hood. In response to Hood's congratulations for finally killing the Didact, the Master Chief cautiously states that it is safest to consider him contained. Hood then orders John and the rest of the blue team to have some rest after years of combat. However, when John returns to his Spartan comrades, he instead tells them that Hood gave them an all clear for their next mission. Wait, what? For the next mission. Kelly asks where they'll head next. John replies, anywhere we're needed. The issue ends with blue team engaged in combat, overlaid with a classified conversation between two individuals whose names have been redacted concerning the Master Chief's self-imposed reassignment, Lord Hood's reaction, and John's unyielding drive to go on fighting. So they were gonna retire blue team, and Chief is just like, no, fuck that. We're gonna keep going. I mean, they were bred. I mean, they don't have anything else to do. They don't have lives. They were abducted as children. Oh, and that's them ejecting it. It's a full rectangle. That's a Didact being composed. Smoke. Smoke. Blue team. Earth 72 hours after the attack on New Phoenix. Oni Eyes only transcript date redacted. Conversation members redacted. Hood's freaking out. He just heard 117 reassign himself. Hood's always the last to know these days. Poor old man. What's he doing? Chief, exactly what a psych eval said he'd do, refusing to stop, taking one mission after another. Something's got to give, right? He can't keep doing this to himself forever. Yeah, but if he wants to destroy himself, hell, what's going to stop him? Yeah, but he's taking his teammates with him. But, yeah, they were assigned to retire. I mean, he's been doing this for like 10 years. More than that, maybe. It's crazy. On May 8th, 2558, a UNSC spy drone scouts the barren surface. Oh, this is a long one. The unnamed planet Ven 3, located at the borders of the Joint Occupation Zone. While investigation is structured, the drone finds the deceased corpses of several King Yar in a laboratory. What's a King Yar? Is that a jackal? Jackals. Aboard UNSC Infinity, Captain Thomas Lasky is briefed about the situation by Admiral Osman over remote communications. Blah, 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 blah. As Osman signs off, Lasky's handpicked team, Spartan Gabriel Thorne, Naja Ray enter the room. Blah, 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 blah. We cover research laboratory on the planet. After the demise of King Yar in the lab, the UNSC observed a Sol Singili storm existing in the structure, wielding a mysterious canister. One that is likely to house a new bioweapon. UC believes the Singili may be agent of Jul Mdama and maybe double-cross the King Yar in the lab. Blah, blah, blah. They are captured the lead into interrogation. A Prowler deploys Ray and Thorne onto Ven 3. Blah, 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 blah. The duo enter a narrow canyon where they lose communication with Infinity to a jamming field. Blah, 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 blah. Roland immediately alerts Lasky to this as well as the communication blackout, suggesting the Infinity change course toward Ven 3 to provide backup for the ground team. They summon Commander Palmer. Blah, 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 blah. Inside, they are ambushed by the elite and contingent of jackals. However, the Spartan escape the structure using armor-integrated thrusters and engage their attacks. Blah, 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 blah. Attaches armor, which knocks the Spartan unconscious. The elite takes Thorne about his ghost and escapes. Infinity Lasky proposes they send another two-man team to back up. Yeah, because that worked the first time. Roland then receives transmission of Ray, who's giving chase to Thorne's captor and has now moved out of reach and communication. Man, Thorne just keeps getting captured. The numbers to be in hundreds of thousands, opposed to UNSC intelligence estimate of hundreds. There are black market arms dealers and slavers selling captives from the Covenant fringe, including humans, Ungoi, which are grunts, as well as unidentified humanoids, seemingly Yanyet. Yanyet are a humanoid sapient species associated with the Covenant. They are part of what is commonly known as the Covenant fringe, a collection of various species that used to serve the Covenant's interests in various peripheral roles. So some other alien race we haven't seen in the games. Dead jackals. Yeah, why did the jackals become like reptiles all of a sudden? They used to look like that. Like they used to be like more bird-like. There they are. Are they like gonna fall in love? Jackal. How much longer is this dumb? They got jumped. He got zapped. Yeah, these things right here, they kind of look like people. I've never seen these before. They're definitely not been in the games. I don't remember the reference in the books, and I just don't remember. What am I meant? Exposure? God, these ones are big boys. A lot of stuff happens in these. Issue 12 opens with Nyjah Ray thwarting Kig-Yar guard who snuck up on her. Blah blah blah. Ray then established communication with the Infinity. Roland informs her that the Infinity has been rerouted towards Ven 3. Blah 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 blah. She informs them that they will be tasked with rescuing Spartan Gabriel Thorne as well as recovering a bioweapon. Blah blah blah. With the impending arrival of the UNSC, one of the Queen's underlings suggests turning the Spartan over to the UNSC to maintain secrecy of their base. Upon exiting subspace, the Infinity is met by advanced fleet. The Infinity launches multiple fighters to counter the small fleet in space. On board a Covenant corvette, the Kig-Yar Queen is informed that her forces, the Infinity stationary, that their advanced fleet has taken severe losses. Ignore the rescue convoy and regroup with the fleet in space. Blah blah blah. Command to destroy a pair of Havoc missiles deployed by the GTL-1 Longsword inside the base. Sarah Palmer and Fireteam Majestic take out several Kig-Yar pirates while they make their way towards Thorne. The Singularity boards a ghost and takes off. Ray finds another ghost and chases him through the base. Blah blah blah. Seconds later, Prowler lands nearby. Several Oni agents run over to their position. Blah blah blah. After the mission, Ray resides by recovering Thorne while Lasky shares a drink with Palmer aboard Infinity. Lasky tells Palmer not to be angry at Ray for disobeying orders since Thorne would have died otherwise. He also tells Palmer that his debriefing with Osmond went surprisingly well despite the covert operation turning into a battle. The Janus Key. This was one... Okay, so the Janus Key was really important in Halo Spartan Ops. And it was like the whole point of Halo Spartan Ops. So I'm interested in what is going on with this. Because it wasn't referenced in 5 at all. And it's kind of a big deal. If you don't know what the Janus Key is, you can check out the Halo 4 campaign, the Spartan Ops campaign. It's on my YouTube channel, Lightning D27. But the gist is at the end of the Spartan Ops... at the end of Spartan Ops, we found out that Halsey was given a 2-part key called the Janus Key that together gave you a map of every Forerunner installation and all Forerunner tech in the galaxy. Or in the galaxy. In the universe? I don't remember. In space. So... she split them in two, gave one to Thorne, was taken by Jul 'Mdama, but she was angry because Palmer tried to assassinate her. So then she was like, well, shoot, I want revenge. And that was where we left off in Spartan Ops, right? Cool, so this is 2 months after the events of issue 12. So 2 months after Thorne was attacked and everything, with the Jackal. On July 15th, 2558, with Dr. Catherine Halsey making a personal journal entry on her reviews on the Forerunners and her technology, her contribution to the humanity's survival, and subsequent condemnation by the UNSC, as well as her encounter with the librarian on Requiem. Despite the UNSC turning against her, she remains determined to combine the halves of the Janus Key and take them to the Absolute Record to fulfill the librarian's plan. Oh, the Absolute Record is the storage unit of all the information. The next day, Odan is attacked by Prometheans and Covenant forces. Who is Oban? Oban is among this planet in the human colony. Okay. Spartans, Gabriel Thorne, Sarah Palmer, and Joel Thomas are deployed to repel the attack. Blah, blah, blah. Search and find Jul 'Mdama while Thomas orders an airstrike on a pair of Type 44 Phantoms. Palmer orders Thorne to get to the M12 chain gun Warhog, but they are ambushed, pursued by Promethean crawlers. Blah, blah, blah. Big fight. On July 17th, on board the UNSC Infinity, Captain Lasky reprimands Palmer about her attitude on Oban. Palmer asks him why Jul would waste so much resources on an attack on a small colony. Lasky believes it may have been to stop colonization efforts and that Jul may not have been the one responsible for the attack. Lasky then tells Palmer that she is frustrated by losing not only Jul's track but Halsey as well, knowing one will lead to the other. Lasky reveals he wants Dr. Halsey taken back into custody, but Palmer insists on killing the doctor on sight. The next day, Palmer visits Dr. Glassman, the doctor got kidnapped the first time, who in Spartan Ops, who's examining one of the halves of the Janus Key. Palmer orders Glassman to give her the final head count of the Galileo 2 base, and she is prepared as a security escort for the team. When the Infinity jumps to slipspace, the ship suddenly reappears in an asteroid belt, colliding with an asteroid and causing some damage inside the ship. Infinity jumps to slipspace again, just to reappear a quarter of a kilometer of her last position. Roland tells Captain Lasky that he is not advisable to make another jump. Lasky orders Palmer and Dr. Glassman to go to Infinity's engine room. Dr. Glassman discovers the Infinity's slipspace drive is overriding any coordinate except the one location in which they are, sticking the ship in a slipspace cul-de-sac. In that moment, Roland finds an unusual energy reading coming from the equator of an uncharted planet near this position. Glassman and Lasky suppose the location is the source of the problem. Blah, blah, blah. In a CSCS class battlecruiser, Dr. Halsey and Jul 'Mdama are in front of the Forerunner artifact. The artifact was a Forerunner device that located on the Shield World Requiem. Okay, so what? Oh, okay. One of the recovered by Mdama before Requiem exploded, so it's one of those big things. Halsey explains to Mdama that the artifact allowed her to be able to contact the Infinity's Forerunner components, including her slipspace drive, and stuck them in the system. Mdama then tells Halsey his lieutenants called her for her head after the failed attack on Oban, but Halsey tells him that the attack was only a bold move to attract the Infinity near the artifact and be able to connect the artifact and the Infinity's drive. Halsey then tells him that now they will need to invade the ship to retrieve the other half of the Janus key. Oh, here's the betrayal that I was waiting for in 5. In such simple terms, is there only one objective: reuniting the key. So she wants the key. They're fighting. Fun Lasky. Well, they're funny. We got radical different ideas of the objective here, Captain. I've already said I missed my shot once. That's not a viable excuse anymore. What is it you were designed to do? This the key. This way Glassman doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Boom. Yep, and then they're being stuck in slip space. Yeah, so it's being... Yeah, that makes sense. See, this connects back to 4, where they were stuck by Requiem because of the artifact back then. Lucky for you, Halsey, after the defeat on Oban, my lieutenants were calling for your head. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Janus Key Part 2. Let's get into it. After UNSC Infinity is stranded in a distant system by Dr. Catherine Halsey and Joel Mdama, July 18, 2558, Captain Thomas Lasky deploys a reconnaissance team to investigate a potential source of interference. Blah, blah, blah. Akis 4. The mysterious signal originates from the island large ocean of the opaque, foamy substance impenetrable to Infinity sensors. Palmer and the Majestic engage in defeat a detachment of Covenant forces. A recently excavated Forerunner structure. On the Song of Retribution, Joel Mdama's flagship, Mdama converses with Dr. Halsey, blah, 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 regarding the UNSC half of the Janus Key. They are interrupted by one of Mdama's commanders who reports the discovery of a group of traitors conspiring against Mdama, some of whom were killed by forces loyal to Joel, while others manages to flee. A single captive is brought before Mdama and is allowed to speak to renounce his sins. However, the rebel Singili instead condemns Mdama because of his allowing Requiem to be destroyed in association with a human. He zealously declares that it's Saudi Neon and is instead the true hand of the Didact. Before Mdama impales him with the energy sword, Jules Siscili tells his followers that all heretics are being eliminated on the spot. Oh, so this is why he starts losing, is that he has his own civil war to fight as well. Meanwhile, Dr. Glassman arrives on the surface of Akis 4, blah, blah, blah. Glassman theorizes the structure to be part of a translocation grid, blah, blah, blah. Halves of the Discord artifact with indentations the shape of the halves of the Janus Key, seemingly suggesting that this is where the key is meant to be placed. However, it is revealed that Halsey and Mdama are monitoring the events and that the artifact is in fact a decoy created to deceive the UNSC into taking their half to the Janus Key to the surface. Jewel expresses mock adherence at the creating copy of a holy Forerunner object. To his shock, Halsey indicates that she is well aware that Mdama's public persona of a religious leader is a mere facade. Dropping the subject, Halsey goes on to state that the UNSC would never suspect a trap, as no one but Glassman would realize the key's true value. On the planet, Glassman requests to have lab equipment brought to the Forerunner site along with UNSC's half of the Janus Key. Palmer reluctantly agrees and contacts Lasky. Mdama's troops standing at the ready, waiting for the signal to ambush the UNSC. Halsey reminds Jewel to exercise extreme care to avoid damaging the key until it's safely in their possession. Roland questions the decision to move the artifact to the surface, as it may distract Glassman from his task of ascertaining the origin of the interference keeping Infinity stranded. As the Pelican carrying the key approaches the Forerunner sites, accompanied by a broadsword escort, Commander Palmer charges Gabriel Thorne with moving the materials to the Forerunner structure. However, the incoming UNSC craft are suddenly struck by Covenant anti-air artillery, but Joel Mdama and Halsey are surprised at the UNSC as Mdama gave no order to fire, nor does he have any forces deployed in the area. Meanwhile, so it's the other person who's the hand of the Didact. The shipmaster, a breath of annihilation, one of Mdama's class assault carriers, receives word on the unauthorized attack, assuming he would be to blame for the incident since the unit responsible is likely one under his direct command. The shipmaster chooses not to wait for Mdama's signal and orders his fleet to proceed with their planned attack. They attack. On the Song of Retribution, Halsey and Mdama argue about their next course of action. Halsey urges Mdama to reposition his fleet to draw the UNSC's attention away from the Pelican's crash site. These are drawings. Here we go. There's the cover. Unidentified. That's bringing the Pelican down. It's all of them. Good work, Ray. The formative structure. Oh, this is the unarmored Sangili. He gets stabbed. All Shadow Glassman. This certainly doesn't look like it belongs here. Bird. We cobbled against early. How did they make a full decoy of that? Oh, this is the other pelican. This is the pelican with it, and then it gets boom, gets crashed. What have you done? I told you to wait till the artifact was off the ship. I did not. Now Rain's gifts above. The judgment has finally arrived. Yeah, see, it's the other guy, and he's got the key. After 7 hours of conflict, Roland makes a report about the situation on Akis 4. Jul'Mdama's fleet has been attacking the UNSC Infinity and preventing the ship from moving. On the ground, Commander Palmer has established a defensive position in the Forerunner structure. He's under attack. Informs Palmer that Hoya has disappeared. Hoya has disappeared! Blah, blah, blah. On the planet, Jul'Mdama and his forces find one of Salem's followers. The Sangili Zealot advises him to return to the Song of Retribution. As they enter a Phantom, Jewel is contacted by Dr. Halsey, who tells him that she has heard Salem Neon's fleet-wide message and stresses the importance of recovering the Janus Key over Neon's rebellion. Blah, blah, blah. Reinforced Palmer that Hoya has spotted Dr. Halsey being escorted by Jewel's forces. In Sally Nyan on the planet, Zealot asks Nyan about the feasibility of continuing the rebellion. Nyan tells him the rebellion will continue, blah, 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 blah. Glassman affirms this possibility, and Palmer orders him to open both portals, and orders Grant, Glassman, and 3 other Spartans to take one portal, while Palmer, Ray, and Thorn take the other. 2 menaces are fighting against Covenant forces. Palmer, Ray, and Thorn scout the jungle when they spot a Sangili miner and a ghost. The miner contacts the Zealot of Jewel's Covenant and tells him that he wants to rejoin them. Dama. Blah, 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 blah. And Prometheus would never obey an imposter. When he then reveals he has the half of the Janus Key stolen by Nyan, and he will lead them to Nyan's hideout. Thorn and Ray prepare to ambush the miner, but Palmer orders them to stop. Both Barnes question her order, pointing out that they could easily take the Janus Key from the Sangili before Halsey arrives with the greater force. However, Palmer states that the miner will lead them to Halsey, and that this time the Doctor gets caught in her own trap. Oh, she's just like, oh yeah, we could, or we could let this thing lead us to Halsey and we kill her and steal the key. 2 jobs done at once. Another one is Orb Sing from Sparnops. Huff Huff. Hello. Yeah, see, they spotted Halsey. Yeah, Halsey wasn't a traitor, but then she became a traitor because they attacked her for being a traitor. There's the Covey line. Oh, they went to the portal. Is this it? This is the miner? I guess he... Oh, I guess... I thought it meant, like, kid, but it means, like, this, like... Oh, a generic elite. There's Palmer. Going fucking nuts. Okay. Last part for the Janus Key, and then we're almost done. I'm not going to go over any of the books or anything, because I don't really care about the origins of Osiris team that much, because I know they're not relevant in the future, so there's not much of a point to do it. After waiting for an opportune moment to ambush Dr. Halsey for some time, Commander Palmer, the Spartans, Thorn, and Ray observe a group of Jul'Mdama's Phantoms arrive to claim the Janus Key, half from the Sangili, who defected from Sale Nyans of rebel faction. Meanwhile, Jul'Mdama continues to eliminate Nyan's followers. Blah, 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 blah. The AI informs him that he can only contact Spartan Grant's team while Palmer has gone off on a mission of her own, blah, blah, blah. Back on Advigus 4, which is the planet they were on, Dr. Halsey and her Zealot escort meet with the Zangili defector. The miner expresses surprise that a human has been sent to retrieve the key, but a Zealot forces him to give her the artifact, blah, 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 blah. Executes the miner with a plasma rifle. Another Zealot, indignant, asks him why he killed the miner before he could give him the location of Nyan's hideout. Zealot states that they already know the location of the hideout. Before conflict between the two arises, Halsey tells them that they need to return to the Song of Retribution. Blah, 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 blah. Nyan is brought before Dama, who intends to keep the traitor alive for his punishment. As Palmer is leading Halsey through the jungle... Wait. Oh, okay. But they are ambushed by Palmer, Thorn, and Ray. With their Phantom surrounded by the Spartans, Halsey and the Zealot flee to the forest. Palmer gives chase while leaving Thorn and Ray to deal with the Covenant forces. Okay. As Palmer is leading Halsey through the jungle and the Doctor begins to argue with Palmer, calling her out for acting as Admiral Osmond's puppet, Palmer accuses Halsey of defecting, but Halsey points out that she merely sided with the party that was not actively trying to kill her. When Palmer decides Halsey is a decrees Halsey as a traitor and war criminal. The Doctor points out that her work had full backing of Oni and the UNSC. Palmer declares that her job and armor are soiled because of Halsey, only for the Doctor to retort that the armor would not exist without her. Halsey goes on stating that Oni turned her into a convenient scapegoat and rewrote history to suit their claims. With Palmer's judgment momentarily clouded, Halsey escapes. Palmer gives chase, only to come face to face with a Harvester. Halsey gets away with the grounded below Palmer and is blasted by Harvester's main. That is true. Halsey didn't just do this and then they did Halsey was doing this for the UNSC, for Oni. She did this with their approval. But when people realized and started finding out that it was really fucked up what they did to the Spartan 2s, who did they blame? Of course they're going to blame Halsey, and they're going to say that she did it on her own, because that's the politically smart move to make. Paul, and of course she wasn't gonna go, I didn't do it. She's like, yeah, I did it. That was what we did. That was the way to do it. Palmer falls off a cliff and attempts to propel herself back up using her armor thruster, but she is hit in the back of the head by a falling rock and falls into a crevice. Halsey contacts Jul 'Mdama is picked up by a phantom. 3 days later, Lasky meets with a humbled Palmer in an interrogation room on Infinity. Lasky informs her that 2 Oni agents are demanding to speak with her, and that Ray and Thorne were furious about her behavior on the planet. While Roland stalls the Oni agents, Lasky asks Palmer to tell him what happened. Palmer explains that she could not bring herself to kill Halsey, and that the Doctor was able to distract her and get away with the Janus key, thus giving Jul 'Mdama access to both halves of the artifact. Meanwhile, Jul and Halsey use the combined Janus key to project a holographic map pinpointing the location of the Absolute Record, which is the Absolute Record is where all the Forerunner artifacts are. Oh, maybe they were on the Absolute Record when Halo, because I heard this leads right into Halo 5. So we know Blue Team's mission, so that, when he goes, this is our next mission, that was what they went and did next, was go look for, it was him, on this weird search to go look for, even though it doesn't say that, that's what he did. He was going on self-employed missions. So technically, even before he went and got a Cortana, he was technically he was not listening to orders. This is another thing, this is why John is not that different from Halsey, is that he was doing a thing that is, that he does his own thing most of the time, and it just happens to go with what the UNSC and Oni need. But now, when he starts following Cortana, it's not what they want. So, that's why they go after him. Which is interesting. I mean, it's an interesting way to think of it. Is that, he wasn't doing anything wrong. And even, that's why Locke, realizes that, is that he was trying to do the same thing. He was just trying to do the human thing of giving him giving Cortana the benefit of the doubt to try to figure out what was going on. So I get that. Oh, I didn't look at the comics of that last one, of the pictures, but that's fine. This issue opens in the world of Ur's freed Jorai system, where Ayit Savit tinkers with the Covenant communication. So, a single mercenary, a Covenant communication node. 2 other Singularly Storm confront him about this. Blah 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 blah. The UNSC briefing room. Admiral Saren Osman briefs a trio of officers about the upcoming Operation Athena. That sounds familiar. After describing Sevi and his role as a Singeli agent working exclusively for Oni, he was working for Oni, Osman goes on to explain that Jul 'Mdama's Covenant have acquired both halves of the Janus key, and that Dr. Catherine Halsey will seek to use the key to find the location of the Absolute Record, which will provide Mdama the location of every Forerunner artifact in the galaxy. It is galaxy. Okay, cool. I didn't know if we're all in one galaxy, or if it's like in Star Wars or whatever. I don't know. To prevent this, Oni has assembled a 5-team specialist team who will stow away aboard the Breath of Annihilation, one of Mdama's 2 assault carriers, once the Covenant fleet reaches the Absolute Record. Blah, blah, blah. Aboard UNSC Infinity on September 15th, 2058, Captain Lasky arrives to check on Commander Palmer, who is on the process of battling Megalicolo in a War Games simulation. The officer overseeing the simulation tells Lasky that Palmer has tripled her required hours in the simulation over the last month. Blah, blah, blah. While Palmer rips the hunter's continuate Legolo apart. Legolo? Legolo are a species of small colonial worm-like creatures. Oh, that's what the hunters are made of. Meanwhile, on Jul 'Mdama's flagship of Source of Song of Retribution, Halsey continues to analyze the combined Janus key, informing Mdama that she was nearly pinpointed the exact location of the Absolute Record. Halsey tells him that his rushing of her work has previously led only to setbacks. Mdama comments on the growth of this covenant, blah, blah, blah. Halsey reminds him to think in the long term, stating the new challenges to his power will inevitably appear and that he should seek to eliminate all of his problems once and for all. Um, back to Infinity's Lasky and converses with Palmer. Worried about Palmer's wounded pride from her failure in the last mission, Lasky tells her that he can get someone else in her place. But she maintains that she is ready. He asks her to focus. They arrive to Hangar with Thorn. Blah blah blah. Oh, Lasky and Palmer break up the altercation just as Dr. Glassman and Spartan Tanaka arrive at the scene. So this is when Tanaka gets introduced in the comic, who is part of Osiris' team. Lasky introduces Tanaka to the rest and explains that Sevi, Palmer, Thorn, Tanaka, and the Glassman will comprise the specialist team on Operation Athena. Glassman then briefs them on the equipment they will use on the mission. The human members of the team will infiltrate the Breath of Annihilation, blah 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 blah. Once at the absolute record, they will separate from the fleet and find a place to land. Aboard a Song of Retribution, Joel M. Dama interrogates a captive rebel, Sally Neon. Blah 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 blah. And would rather keep him in prison to kill him as per Sangheili tradition. Joel retorts that he honors tradition but will innovate if he need be. Sally continues to revel Mdama, who then asks how many insurgents still remain in his ranks. Sally tells him that he will know soon enough, prompting Mdama to strike him. September 17th, 2558. Blah blah blah. Just before the fleet makes a jump toward the absolute record, upon their exit from Slipspace 3 hours later, Glassman begins to comfort Thorn about the incident with Sevi, saying that Thorn's losing his temper was understandable given that what happened between the two. Annoyed, Palmer orders him to be quiet, but Thorn thanks Glassman for his support and asks the doctor how they managed to convince him to come along the mission. Ndama's fleet enters his upper atmosphere, the unusually hot gas giant with a metallic hydrogen core, known by Dr. Halsey, as being artificial. The Jansky begins to react and leading Halsey to conclude that they are close to their destination. So let's look at these real quick. It's loaded. Just for finding the... Oh, ripping the worms out. Ew. There's the elite they're working with. Oh, there's Tanaka. What'd she say? Served on Requiem with Fireteam Domino. Oh, so she was a Spartan back in the Spartan Ops. We didn't see her. Ruptures. Blah blah blah. There they are. Dr. Glassman is like in the mix for some reason. Why? I don't know. How many parts does this have? This got 6 parts. The big boy. This has got to lead the Cortana somehow, right? Has to. Even that Chuckle was a mistake. The issue begins with the Slipspace portal, the absolute record, forming near the fleet of Joel Mdama's Covenant. Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, in a hangar bay of Breath of Annihilation, the Zolkar's crew is attempting to remediate damages done to their ship. Still hiding away in the now damaged Phantom, the Operation Athena team, Palmer, Thorn, Tanaka, and Dr. Glassman, Oni operative Ayid Sevi discuss their next course of action. Blah blah blah. To prevent giving away their position, Sevi arms the humans with Covenant weaponry, leaves the Phantom to engage Covenant soldiers in the hangar alone. Oh, it's gonna be 2 a.m. by the time I finish all these. Blah blah blah. Traveling down a hallway to the next hangar base, Sevi's smoke screen provides Spartan's cover, but also impairs their vision. Prometheus Vision discovers that they are surrounded by oncoming Covenant forces as a wraith appears and prepares to fire upon the Spartans. Take it destroyed by Phantom Man and by Sevi. Shit, blah blah blah. Sevi learns of Mdama's intentions and informs the rest of the team. Glassman reminds them that once they enter the portal, they'll have even less of a chance at reestablishing contact with Oni. Palmer orders Sevi and Thorn to travel back to the Breath of Annihilation and attempt to contact Oni while the rest of the team remains assigned at Retribution. Blah blah blah. Retribution arrives at the absolute record and Forerunner Ancilla detects the human presence aboard the Kyria. Contender class artificial intelligence notes that the Reclaimers have arrived. The Reclaimers are the human race. Which, why Cortana and the Created don't get that? Don't know. Literally, the Forerunners have said it's humanity. The only person who's disagreed so far was the Didact. And the Covenant. But the Covenant still need humanity to activate everything because they're not Reclaimers. September 18th, 2558, 0007 MST, Song of Retribution is circling the main receiver of the Absolute Records tracking station. Joel Mdama and Dr. Halsey attempt to enter the installation. Blah, blah, blah. The helps them lose control. Song of Retribution hangar base, Spartan, Sarah Palmer, Holly Tanaka, and Dr. Henry Gossman wait their chance to leave the damaged drop pod they are hiding aboard. Blah, 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 blah. The Tanaka spots 2 nearby Type 44 Phantoms they can steal. Blah, 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 blah. Be careful. Meanwhile, several DS. This is like, it really like gives you a general description of every page. Mercenary listens to the heated debate before entering a nearby Phantom the Spartan Gabriel Thorn is hiding in. Blah, 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 blah. Cause aboard the ship in the mutiny, Mercenaries wishes to have Thorn attack the Singili to create panic throughout the ship, though Thorn is reluctant to trust Sevi due to their previous encounter on Ven 3. Sevi asserts that Thorn will never be able to find a way out the carrier if he does not trust him. Meanwhile, Imdama, Halsey, and numerous Singili zealots arrive at the platform and meet with the AI. Halsey addresses the Ancilla, and it claims to be chosen by the librarian to unlock the absolute record. Halsey requests to be escorted to the proper area to begin their work, but the AI expresses its doubts, especially pondering why the other humans feel the need to conceal themselves. The AI uses sentinels to transport the drop pod to other humans are hiding into the platform, where they are dropped down beside Halsey and Imdama. Both groups begin to argue, with Glassman questioning Halsey's decision to affect Imdama's covenant. Halsey tells Glassman to shut up, but the AI tells her that she has no authority to silence him. It decides to let each human have a chance to account for its presence at the installation, though Halsey asserts that there is nothing to discuss, that she has the Janus key. The AI intends to take as much time as it needs to question each human, and it wishes to operate with total caution after one of its fellow contender class AIs made the mistake of not taking the same precautions during the Forerunner Flood War. Which is like a very old, like that's way, way long time ago. It was a pivotal galactic conflict that occurred between the Forerunners and the Flood Parasite. This is what they created the Halo Rings for. Aboard Breath of Annihilation, Thorn has decided to follow Sevi's plan and begin blah blah blah. Glassman states that he shares the same views as the AI and he does not want the absolute record to be exploited. Halsey scoffs at this claim, but the AI orders her to remain silent. Glassman insists that the United States Space Command intends to use the absolute record in a way that is consistent with the Forerunners' intentions and claims. That's not true. That's not all what would happen. As Halsey and Glassman begin to argue, an impatient zealot attacks a sentinel, leading to all the constructs attacking the humans in Sangeli. Of course, the AI claims that a more direct examination is in order to decide who is legitimate steward of absolute record. It honestly probably would be Halsey. Halsey would actually want to research it. Glassman is kind of just like a UNSC slave and would just do what they want with it. And the UNSC honestly probably shouldn't have it because it's too much knowledge. It's too, like, they would just militarize it, is what we've learned from previous Halo games. Is how, like how do we make this a weapon? Is that the thing they're talking to? It looks like it. So enter the absolute record. Jesus, they are having a pissing match. What was that, 3? We're on 4 now? But, okay, cool. Is held by an energy shield. The absolute record's contender class AI tells Jul 'Mdama his forces were disposed and confined because their presence was an unwelcome distraction. They're there to honor their gods, not fight them, and it was the contender who provoked them to attack the Sentinels. In response, the contender's AI says it's suspicious about the Singili's disruptive tendencies were confirmed by their reaction. Palmer, Tanaka, and Glassman AK ask themselves if the contender is their ally or just merely hates the Covenant. The Ancilla says that his only intention is to maintain the integrity of the absolute record and choose its proper custodian. Although Dr. Catherine Halsey claims she must be the custodian of the absolute record, the Ancilla is speaking of because of her possession of the Janus key and being chosen by the librarian. The contender AI says her possession of the Janus key proves nothing because the key could have been obtained by any variety of ways, even brute force. When Dr. Halsey tries to tell the Ancilla her reasons, the AI says it had enough and translocates them. On board the Breath of Annihilation, immunity has been carried out by those who believe that the Didact's hand lied to them in the about the presence of the Spartans aboard the ship. A zealot brutally beats the Singeli Storm, demanding the answer of why their supreme commander lied to them. Blah, 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 blah. The Storm that says the traitors are the only ones who would be benefited about the truth of those rumors. Office of Naval Intelligence, Oni operative Sevi, pretending to be a member of the rebellion, kills the Storm. Blah, 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 blah. Guy lived to hunt for Spartan Gabriel Thorn. Blah, 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 blah. Thorn escapes Breath of Annihilation through a breach in the carrier's hull and dives into a swamp on the moon, where the ship is undergoing repairs. Blah, 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 blah. Spartan manages to kill 2 of the Kigyar, the Jackals, and with the combat knife, blah, blah, blah. At the absolute record, the contender AI presents the humans and Jul with a theoretical scenario in which a peaceful species is revealed to possess flood-resistant biological material that can be used as a vaccine against the flood. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Oh, it's theoretical. When this material is harvested from a living member of the species, there is a 35% chance of a successful yield. However, the species is willing to provide the corpses of their kind that passed away naturally through the deceased bodies only to have a 33% chance of a successful yielding. The contender then asked them if they would allow the species to live autonomously in exchange for the bodies of the deceased, or extract the biological matter from all living members of the species to create vaccines at a higher speed. Jewel believes that the correct answer to the scenario is to peacefully cooperate with the species, but Halsey decides that the species' freedom should be sacrificed for the greater good of the galaxy. Glassman and the Spartans decide that they would allow the species to maintain an independence and cooperate with them. As a contender asks each party if the disqualifying participants should be contained or killed, Halsey seemingly hacks into the AI system and disables the Ancilla. No longer obstructed from their goals, Halsey and Jewel enter the interior of the Absolute Record, so that we won't know what the right answer is. Was that part 4? I didn't even look at the pictures, but there's not that many of them. So 3258, Dr. Catherine Halsey enters the central chamber of the Absolute Record while many phantoms project the entrance. She encounters a hologram of the librarian who tells her that the answers she seeks are inside the chamber containing everything Halsey needs to begin their work. Outside the central chamber, Spartans Sarah Palmer and Holly Tanaka fight off Ibishan Kigyar, which is the jackals, and protect Dr. Glassman. They are assaulted by a lich. A lich? Oh. The humans flee but are cornered by two blah blah blah. Put a fragment. Okay. After Halsey shut down its main body and took control of the record, a failsafe activated that put a fragment of the custodian in the mind of a local sentinel. Asking their help to restore to its body, the sentinel leads the humans to the secure location. Meanwhile, aboard the Breath of Annihilation, which is parked on a moon of the record for repairs, blah 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 blah. Jules' vault is a ship with full runner artifacts from Requiem. His followers cause panic aboard the ship, and Jules' forces on the Breath call for their field scouts at the moon swamp to return to the ship and help them. However, blah 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 blah. Thorn opens fire on the jackal but gets stuck in the swamp, almost allowing the jackal to kill him. Back at the record, Halsey listens to the librarian's hologram as it informs her that of the many dormant artifacts across the galaxy that Halsey could choose to awaken. It suggests an unknown planet surrounded by 12 moons, which contains design seeds that, when activated, will begin harvesting the surrounding solar systems to construct a new facility. One of the moons also stores numerous Forerunner dreadnoughts, available for automated control. The dreadnoughts are the big ships in Halo Wars that we saw. If you watch the Halo Wars cutscenes on my YouTube channel at like Unity27, available for automated control. Through them, Halsey will be able to begin the next step in humanity's evolution. Thorn manages to pull himself out of the swamp, blah 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 blah. He takes flight in a vacant banshee and tells Iggy to meet him at the ship, blah blah blah. Inside the record, Jules' forces occupy most of the facility, too many for the humans to battle through. They wait outside the central chamber for Halsey, Jewel expressing misgivings, her eagerness to command these Forerunner sites. He orders his zealots to detain Halsey once she exits. As a reminder that she is under his command. Through the record's communications, Halsey overhears his conversation and remarks that she had another matter to attend to, terminating their alliance. With the record's control, this is when she turns tides again. Halsey orders the Sentinels to attack Joel and his warriors. So here's the cover art, here's the librarian. Life into the Rebellion, one of the moon. Yeah, see, there's the ships from Halo Wars. That big fleet that the Covenant were trying to take control of. That were meant for the humans. That was supposed to leap them into the future. What was that, 5? I think we're in 6 now. The issue opens in Absolute Record with Jewel and Dom and his elites fighting off aggressive sentinels. Jewel's under the impression that the Custodian and Scylla has regained control and is attacking them, unaware that they're under Halsey's orders to assassinate them. As for the humans, they escort the sentinel containing the Custodian's personality fragment, who aids them in combat against Halsey's sentinels. Aboard the Breath of Annihilation, blah 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 blah. Jules' vault of Forerunner artifacts rejoices in their victory and praises Ayat Savi for their victory. However, the two zealots are suspicious of Zevi after they overheard him speaking English. Blah 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 blah. Back in the record, Palmer, Tanaka, and Glassman reach auxiliary control conduit where they can put the Custodian back in charge of the facility. The Custodian Sentinel sends the initialization code to Palmer's HUD, who reads it to Glassman and he types. However, Halsey realizes that they're up to and interferes with the attempt, halting their progress. The Custodian informs Palmer that Halsey is in the room directly above them. Palmer volunteering to head up there at the top of the floor. She holds Halsey at a gunpoint, giving her 3 seconds to step away from the console. Instead, Halsey activates a containment field around Palmer and prepares a portal for her prepares a portal to her next destination. At the Annihilation, Thorn flies to his hangar, blah blah blah. Accusing him to being spy. They accuse what's his name to be spy of humans. They try to deny. He tries to deny it. Blah blah blah. He helps him out, thinking to confuse Thorn for saving his life. So Thorn saves him. Jewel and his forces have managed to repel the Sentinels, and he uses the opening to order his flagship, Song of Retribution, to attack. He fires into the Record, disrupting power across the station. Palmer's containment field falls, and the Custodian Sentinel's mind transfer is interrupted, leaving the droid damaged. Halsey flees to her portal while Palmer shoots at her but misses. The Doctor escaping and vanishing, but to her surprise, she lands on top of a shell of a now reactivated Custodian, who has regained control and catches her. It tells her that her performance in its previous test was excellent, but her impatience that led to her hijacking him means that he now denies her further access to the record. So she chose the Forerunner answer, which is true, even though she had nearly earned it. Halsey protests in vain that Janus Key's librarians give to her, but the Custodian makes it vanish. Oh, he takes the key away! Palmer regroups with the others, but they see the record is suddenly disappearing in subspace portals. Urgent to escape, Glassman recalls coordinates from the Custodian's examination, which appear to tell him where Jewel's ship carrying all the artifacts is docked. Blah blah blah, aboard the nation, blah 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 blah. The story cuts to Palmer's debriefing Captain Lasky, informing him what happened next. Sally was so proud of having captured the Annihilation that he flew into the carrier into the stinky space, blah 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 blah. Palmer tells Lasky that Ayik overheard communication in the Retribution, saying that the Halsey was recovered, but the Janus Key wasn't, ending its threat. Okay, so the Sentinel, she was so impatient, he was like, nah, I'm gonna be petty. You were impatient, you turned me off, even though you passed your test. No Janus Key for you. What a petty Sentinel. That's so funny. And that's it. So that makes sense why the Janus Key is not mentioned, is because it's gone. Okay. That was all the stuff post Halo 4 leading into Halo 5. But you know what? It doesn't mention Cortana at all. It still didn't mention anything about Cortana. Since we did we did Halo 4 into Halo 5, now we're going to go from Halo 5 into Infinite stuff. So from what I read is that there's 2 novels that we have to cover. So basically what most people say is that everyone's pretty much just hiding from the Guardians. But the books we got to cover are the Bad Blood book, and I believe the Shadows of Reach leads into Halo Infinite. So we're going to read the rough synopsis for this. Just hours following their climactic battle on the former planet Genesis, the Spartans of Blue Team and Fireteam Osiris find themselves running for their lives from the malevolent machinations of the now renegade artificial intelligence Cortana. But even as they attempt to stay one step ahead, new trouble seems to find Spartan Edward Buck no matter where he turns. So this is about Buck. And I believe this has the ODST team in it. A secret mission planned by the Office of Naval Intelligence could possibly help turn the tide, and as Buck reluctantly agreeing to reform his old team, Alpha 9. But if the band is really getting back together for this one, that means everybody, including the Spartan who Buck never wants to see again, the one who committed the ultimate betrayal of trust, which is his girlfriend. But it sounded like he was with her, because he was talking about her in the game. Or is this cover art? I mean, it's a book, so we'll just set it to one of these. I kind of like this one. Oh, this one. Okay. In a report for the Office of Naval Intelligence, Edward Buck reflects on the events that transpired from Mickey Crespo. Oh, it's Mickey! Transpired after Mickey betrayed him and Romeo in Operation Culpeper. So that happened in the other book. So this is a sequel to New Blood. His recruitment on Fireteam Osiris, his missions with them on Kamchatka, Meridian, and Singelios, and rescuing Blue Team for Cortana's grafts on Genesis. After saving them, both Fireteam Osiris and Blue Team... I can't believe Mickey betrayed... What? I loved Mickey! Blue Team fought against several, Armigers? Armiger's a Forerunner that's what that other carp fighter is called. Until they found India 127 Pelican that crash landed on Genesis. Oh, they found a Pelican there. Linda managed to hold off the Armigers long enough to allow both teams aboard the Pelican, extract Linda, and allowing the exuberant witness to open a slipspace portal to transport them to St. Helios. Their Pelican exits near Sunayon, which is where they picked up, where they regroup with Velvet. We saw this in the cutscene. met with Palmer and Catherine Halsey. Both teams are informed that one of the Singelios' hemispheres was completely shut down by Guardian Custode immediately after Thel's victory against Jul 'Mdama's Covenant. And the same Guardian is enforcing Cortana's law on the planet's other hemisphere after Singeli's refusal to allow themselves to be subjugated by the Created. Halsey also informs that the UNSC Infinity managed to escape from Earth, one of Cortana's first targets, and the ship will arrive to the system to extract them to the next day. Thel 'Vidam invites both teams to a victory feast in which John 17 talks alone with Halsey and shares some stories with Thel. On the next day, both teams, Palmer and Halsey, are to depart to the Infinity, with Thel wishing them luck in the upcoming battle against the Created. So this is the book of... So this looks like it's going to cover most of the fight with Cortana here. During Indiana 127's flight to the Infinity, they are contracted by Veronica Dare, Buck's ex-girlfriend, who authorizes them to land on the portside Bay 5. After arriving, a lieutenant informs that Captain Thomas Lasky needs John 117, Spartan Jameson Locke, and Commander Palmer, Dr. Halsey on Infinity's bridge. While the rest of the Spartans go to the S-Bay to remove their Mjolnir armors after spending some time alone together. Part of the mission, but after... Dare informs Buck that the Office of Naval Intelligence needs them and the rest of Alpha 9 for a mission, including Mickey to act as a liaison between the UNSC and the United Rebel for... Oh! Mickey joined the Rebels. Okay. At first, Buck refused to be part of the mission, but after a short conversation with Captain Lasky, he agrees to work with Dare and Alpha 9. Dare informs Buck about the mission, investigate, and discover how URF colony named Cassidy 3 has... let me make this a little bit right over here. Oh, you guys can see that part. There we go. We'll do that. Nope, it definitely just made it miniature right there. It doesn't like that I'm putting it like in the middle of my two monitors for some reason. It would, yeah, I don't know. That's fine. It's just right where my lamp's at. I don't need all this extra stuff here. I don't know. We'll just leave it. I'm just struggling because my lamp's right there. Anyway. Dare informs Buck about the mission to investigate and discover how URF colony named Cassidy 3 has not been detected by Cortana and her Guardians, even if the other colonies on the system were neutralized by the Created. Buck and Dare depart on Foxtrot 111, a Condor to Balaho, the Ungoy's homeworld. Oh, that's the Grunts. To recruit Romeo, who is assigned to the Guard UNSC embassy on the planet. Upon arriving, they see Ungoy have accepted the Cortana's offer, and Romeo being pinned down in a building by the Ungoy and a Promethean soldiers. After rescuing him, Romeo tells him that the Ungoy and the Created destroyed the UNSC embassy on Balaho's capital, Gidgao, killing almost everyone in the embassy and escorting the survivors to Kabekera as prisoners. As Romeo's request, he and Buck ambush the Ungoy, score, and manage to defeat their... See, this would have been a great game. These would have been great games. All this information would have been great games that they could have just made. But anyway, I would have loved... This would have been Halo 5 ODST, and I would have played the shit out of this. Halo 4 ODST would have been New Blood. Would have played the shit out of that. Why didn't we? Fight me, 343. I'll fight you. Everyone was recruited, blah, 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 including 2 goblins, and the embassy survivors are killed by several Phaedions. But Dare manages to bring the Condor to extract Buck and Romeo. Alpha 9's next stop is the Oni installation on Luna, where the Huragok quick to adjust Virgil and his handler Sadie and Desha. Oh, they're grabbing the engineer? That's awesome. And his handler Sadie and Desha were placed after Operation Culpepper. Once arriving in the... Oh, I didn't know the engineer was stayed on their team. That's sick! On the facility, they discover that Cortana's forces have already seized the base and have taken its occupants hostage. Okay, I might go back and read this. I might go back and read New Blood and Bad Blood, because that's awesome. It's just more ODST hijinks. I've lost track where I was because I was so excited. They've taken the occupants hostage. Virgil and the other Huragok are hiding in the ventilation. So the other engineers, ventilations of the boat, when Buck and Romeo find them with the help of the likely to list, who Buck initially mistakes for Virgil. However, Virgil refuses to leave without Sadie, but then make a detour where Promethean soldiers have been keeping humans captive, blah, 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 blah. Vacuum the Prometheans are ripped out into the lunar surface, blah, 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 blah. En route to collect Mickey, Dare reveals that he had been held at the same Spartan 4 training facility that Buck, Romeo, and Mickey had trained at. Wait, so is Romeo and Mickey also Spartans? In a remote star system orbiting a dwarf planet. Dare finds that a report from the station's AI, Leonidas, labels Supervisor John! the primary recruiter of the Spartan 4 program, current supervisor of the station. Oh, John! So that's where he was with Mickey, and he trained Buck. Okay, and Buck's recruiter as indisposed, which leads the crew to believe that AI had turned to Cortana's side, posing that as the only one on board of the Condor. Buck contacts Leonidas as they near the station, who tells him to report to Musa, the de facto supervisor of the Spartan 4 program, that everything here is fine. Buck insists aboard and then is aided by 2 technicians who ask to refuel and clean his ship, to which he denies it in an effort to prevent Leonidas from locating his crew through the station's crewmates. Walking down the corridors while reminiscing his time training at the facility, Buck encounters a walking holographic projection of Leonidas. Leia reiterates that Jun is asleep only to be awoken in an emergency, to which Buck is highly suspicious. But Leonidas still cheerfully provides Buck with Mickey's location in the dorms turned brig of the station. Buck arrives at the brig to find Mickey serving his life sentence, but eventually leaves after heated moral argument, despite the prisoner agreeing to join him. Holy shit, I can't believe Mickey became a rebel and then got arrested. The team narrows down their options to disconnecting Leonidas' data chip from the station entirely, determining the only location capable of housing the AI to be Jun's office. As soon as Buck nears the office, he loses comms with Alpha 9, and Leonidas' avatar pops in front of him, demanding that he leave. When Buck refuses, he declares that the Spartan had gone AWOL and that the stolen gauntlet was in effect, ordering his termination if he did not cooperate. 3 nearby Spartans move in to arrest him, though willing to hear him out and summon Jun, but Leonidas pops the room's airlock and suffocating the other Spartans after Buck had started to get them to question Jun's absence. Leonidas continues threatening to depressurize the entire station if Buck continues to resist. And just before he does, however, Virgil cuts the power to most of the station, effectively blocking Leonidas from accessing its systems. That's actually pretty badass. But inadvertently deactivates the force field to house the prisoners. Leonidas attempted to reason with Buck, but it cut off when Buck removed the data chip from the terminal. The Spartan sprints with the brig, and much of his surprise finding Mickey still there, holding a pistol at a security guard's head, with another unconscious on the floor. Mickey then proceeds to lock the security guard in the brig before agreeing to accompany Alpha 9. The two make their way to the Condor, with Mickey acting as an escorted prisoner, but halfway a Spartan recognizes Buck and opens fire. They immediately duck to cover. Buck decides to smash Leonidas' data chip to prevent further complications of the mission, before receiving comms requests from none other than the former squad mate, Dutch, meeting him down the hall. Buck is shocked to learn that Dutch, along with his wife, Gretchen, had joined the Spartan 4 program just several months back. Oh, the whole ODST team are Spartans now. Now, with backup, Buck and Mickey continue to push towards the Condor, making it aside safely before Dare navigates out of the hangar. Jun then makes contact with Alpha 9, now composed of Buck, Dare, Romeo, Mickey, and Dutch, alongside Gretchen, Virgil, and Sadie. He indirectly confirms Mickey's whereabouts, thanks Buck for dealing with Leonidas, and wishes them the team luck on their mission. I love Jun. I'm definitely going to read this, because Jun's one of my favorite Reach characters, and it's ODST. Like, this should have been a game. I would have fucking loved this game. On their way to Cassidy 2 in a settlement called the Hole in the Wall. We're halfway there, guys. Mickey claims the rebels will have nothing but hostility towards Buck and his crew for being part of the UNSC, but Romeo, holding back tears of laughter at Mickey's reasoning, rebuts that because the Hole in the Wall is one of the only human settlements left undiscovered at Cortana, they're going to want and need help. Veronica then explains that Oni had been using Cassidy to store goods during the Human Covenant War after having discovered the colony by accident due to a subspace drive malfunction. One of humanity's backup plans was to retreat there if Earth was destroyed. Dare also reiterates that their intent is not to expose the colony, but to understand how Cassidy 2 or 3 has stayed out of Cortana's sight to replicate the phenomenon for other colonies. Mickey acknowledged later in the cockpit. Dare and Buck also talk about the relationship. Veronica brings up marriage, and Buck, reluctant to commit to a relationship that he inevitably abandoned by dying, quickly changes topics. Damn. They soon exit Slipspace, and Dare immediately contacts Cassidy 3 as a UNSC. I mean, it was kind of like hinted in ODST that he tried to propose to her, but that she was reluctant. But now he's reluctant now that he's a Spartan and is going to be doing more dangerous missions. Dare immediately contacts Cassidy 3 as a UNSC diplomatic vessel. With no response, they circle to the planet to make sure the front sees and acknowledges them, and are soon contacted by Cassidy Ground Control, who hands the comms to Mayor Juanita Wells. Although she initially threatens to shoot the Condor out of the sky, Mickey convinces her to negotiate, and Dare then navigates to a beacon on the desert outskirts. A stony basin at the south of the city, while Virgil works out figuring out the reason for Cassidy 3's radio silence. Alpha 9 leaves with more than a dozen soldiers surrounding them. Mayor Wells appears, and Dare argues that the UNSC would simply ignore the colony's presence opposed to Cortana, who would impose her kneel or die rule if she discovered the planet. For that reason, they should trust Alpha 9. With Wells unconvinced, Veronica brings Mickey forward, and he eventually sways the soldiers by insisting that humans themselves are easier to reason with than Cortana. Wells also gives in and emotions Alpha 9 toward the city. They ride out a wheeled platform to an outdoor amphitheater. Over tea, Veronica explains the future of the planet under humanity, and after a long back and forth argument, eventually convinces Wells to share her information. She explains that the source of the cloaking, the three Forerunner spires around which the settlement was built, the cloaking is essentially a massive slow space shell, an extremely thin field with extraordinary density. Ships can fly through unfazed, but it blocks all communications in and out of the planet. Wells reasons that the replication of the effect is not feasible, as scientists had been studying the phenomenon for years without much progress, but Dare proposes to leave Virgil to analyze it, using Mickey as collateral to ensure the Huragok's safe return. Veronica radios Sadie, but she refuses to stay behind with Virgil. Veronica keeps pushing, but Sadie cuts the comm. When the Condor arrives, Virgil explains that he found a portion of Leonidas' code in Gretchen's armor. Buck worried has Virgil look at Dutch's suit, which also contained the AI. When plugged into a spare tablet, all forms of communications were removed for safety. Leonidas explains that he had already contacted Cortana's distributed forces that just after they landed on Cassidy 3. Oh no! Minutes later, just as Alpha 9 takes off into the Condor, Guardian arrives, sending an EMP throughout the hole in the wall. This renders the aircraft powerless, and after they fall back down, Wells moves in to arrest them with their forces. Wells decides to use him to fix the colony's civilian transports and help the hole in the wall residents escape. Shortly after, the Forerunner armigers begin emerging from portals around the city, attacking residents in Alpha 9. Wells shows Alpha 9 minus Dutch to the city's armaments, heading to the first precinct for ammo and a suit for Mickey. Is Mickey a Spartan, or did they stop making him... I don't know if he is it sounds like he is a Spartan. Virgil fixes the Condor as more portals open, and the Guardian opens fire on the city, melting buildings and raising the landscape. Gretchen and the Condor arrive, blah, 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 blah. However, citizens are cluttered around ships, preventing them from properly exiting the hangar, so Buck fires rounds to the air to get their attention, while Mickey, seen as a hero in their eyes, demands them to move. At this point, the Guardian had just shot down the last of the fighters, but not all transports had departed. More soldiers begin to appear in portals around them in the airfield, and shortly thereafter leave through one of the big portals and snow-capped Forerunner spires, of where Buck notes as Genesis. The Guardian detaches a Durance node to retrieve Leonidas, as per his agreement with Alpha 9 and Governor Wells. But Buck steps toward to comply, placing the tablet on the Durance node. Buck is subsequently informed by Leonidas that the Spartans are no longer needed in a galaxy ruled by the Created, so he flees the Condor, commanding Gretchen to leave ASAP. Once the Durance node rises to return to the Guardian, Romeo obliterates the tablet with his Gauss rifle, and the team takes off. Just 20 seconds from slipspace, the dropship is hit with another EMP. Virgil climbs to the cockpit to fix the control panel and hitches a ride on the Buck to unplug to repair an engine from the outside. After a series of random jumps, they head back to the Infinity. Mickey is assigned to armored escort instead of being imprisoned. Dutch and Gretchen head off to their first joint quarters in a while, and Buck and Romeo have had their armor removed for the first time in weeks. To recount the very first-person events of the book, Buck is called in to meet Lasky and Palmer for a debriefing, putting in his best word for Romeo. He leaves satisfied and heads towards Full Moon, a nearby bar popular with Spartans, finding their favorite bartender serving Fire Team Osiris. Popping a chair next to them, Buck catches up their time apart. Locke eventually pulls him aside to talk about Mickey, to which he expresses his gratitude despite a little hostility. Right on cue, Alpha 9 enters the entire bar, turning heads to stare at Mickey as he moves quickly to Buck's table. Locke greets him, and the two head off for more drinks while Buck is left with Veronica Dare. To continue their conversation before landing at Cassidy 3, she dares him to marry her, to which he agrees, surprised when she initiates the makeshift ceremony from the bartender's tablet. Popping up on the nearest table, the ship's AI Roland officiates their matrimony. Not long after Buck and Dare's honeymoon, Alpha 9 is set out on another classified mission, out of contact with Command and with nothing but their armor, weapons, and each other to ride on. Oh my god! They're not on the Infinity, unless they show up in the other book. If Buck and Alpha 9 are all Spartans, and they come back, and we can do another Halo ODST game, I would be down. 343 and Microsoft. I would be down. And a lot of other people would, because Halo 3 ODST is borderline one of the best Halo games. Make another ODST game. Even though they're all Spartans, that would make the few things that people didn't like about ODST were that you weren't Spartans, and you've already fixed that. That's insane. I might go back and read those because I do enjoy Buck, and mostly because I love Nathan Fillion, but that's good. This is the one that leads right into Infinite, I believe. So this is this section needs expansion. You can help Halo PD by expanding it. Okay, so apparently it's not full, but okay. So this is Halo Shadows of Reach. So this is about Chief and Blue Team. All right, so this is, again, remember, this is stuff before Halo Infinite, after 5, before Infinite. The story opens with the Master Chief, Petty Officer John 117, and the other Spartan 2s of Blue's team, Fred, Kelly, and Linda, aboard the UNSC Special Delivery, an Owl stealth insertion craft. Again, I want to do this, but let's just bring it up here. It'll be easier for me to read. En route to the surface of Reach. Oh, they're going back to Reach. I know they started recolonizing it at the end of the game. Like, they show you, like, in the future, them recolonizing it. Maybe this is what they were referencing. Once thriving colony in the heart of UNSC military that had been glassed by the Covenant seven years prior, Blue Team had been ordered to retreat. He's been, like, a Spartan for, like, 10 years. Blue Team had been ordered to retrieve potential war-altering assets from within Castle Base, hidden deep under the Highland Mountains. The Owl's small flight crew of 3 of the UNSC's best remaining operatives, Crew Chief Stella Mukai, Pilot Major Esnik Van Hout, and Co-Pilot First Lieutenant Max Chapov, don't know any of these people, had been tasked with the delivery of Blue Team and their excavation equipment to the planet's surface. However, they soon realize that the simple snatch and grab mission will be considerably more difficult than expected. The special delivery is spotted and attacked by enemy aircraft. They narrowly make it to the ground while under the fire from Seraphs, which are those ships that we fought in Reach, which is convenient that they only show up in Reach. Back on solid ground, the Spartans aren't given much time to recover before the attacking Seraphs make another pass. Blue Team is forced into a defensive hold while attempting to unload their cargo and crew from the wreckage of the Owl. After briefly gaining control of the situation thanks to Fred's improvisation with the excavation equipment's plasma drill, John notices the sigil of the Banished on the hull of a downed Seraph, revealing that the ruthless faction of mercenaries that had occupied Reach. As their protocol, the Owl was destroyed via an internally stored octanitrocubane charge to cover their tracks. Oh shit! So this is what so they run into the Banished immediately in this book. Okay, remember, we're gonna meet more of the Banished in Halo Wars too. Meanwhile, Castor, a Jiralhane Dokab of the Keepers of One Freedom, which is these are the brutes, investigates the charred and remains of an insertion craft, considering why the humans might have come to Reach. He and Inslan Gadalgai and Sigili Blademaster, serving the Banished, consider the possibility that it may be for the same reason that the Banished and their newly acquired factions, the Keepers of One Freedom, the Legion of the Corpse Moon, and the Ravaged Tusks, are on the planet. War Chief Escarum, he's in Infinite, had sent forces to the Glass World to search for a fabled portal to the Ark. This leads into Halo Wars 2. Atriox had contracted him, ordering the portal to be found and open for him to return to the galaxy. As such, Castor orders his forces to follow the human in hopes that they will lead the way to the portal. So they're trying to go back to the Ark, which is from Halo 3, which connects all the Halo rings. Blue Team gets clear to their landing zone and starts the long trek to Castle Base. Not long after they get moving, another wave of Banished reinforcements close on their position with very little in the way of cover. Blue Team is soon forced into the Arini Basin, where a number of pioneer settlements had been set up by colonists intending to retake their homeworld. The Spartans notice that the nearest of these settlements has been raided and taken over by the Banished. As they move into the basin with the intent of reaching the settlement, they are attacked by waves of Banshees. John's leg is critically injured, and Fred receives a severe concussion. Before reaching the outpost, John, Fred, and Kelly are forced to take shelter in a winding passage beneath the glass. Where's Linda? John's Mjolnir Gen 3 armor stabilizes his wound, but Fred will need greater medical attention than his armor can provide. While John recollects himself, they are found by members of the Vairi militia and taken back to their makeshift base of operations. Linda and the special crew, as the flight crew of the special delivery had come to be called, found their own way through the subterranean caves of glass. Castor meets with Deucalion, and we got to see a glass planet in 5, which is really cool, of them what a colony looks like after it's been the planet's been glassed, which was neat. It was nice to see that. Castor meets with Deucalion, leader of the Legion of the Corpse Moon, and and Ballas, the leader of the Ravaged Tusks. He convinces them that the humans must also be looking for the same portal that they are, and that their two factions should assist the Keepers in a plan to follow the humans to their prize. At the militia's base, John learns that most of the surviving humans on Reach are former inhabitants of the planet before its fall. That's interesting. The Vairi militia are initially hesitant to work with the Spartans, but their suspicion is soon overtaken by the hope that the super soldiers were sent to assist in their war against the Banished. John tries to tell them that they have more pressing mission, but their leader, Colonel Sasa Boldasir, refuses to listen. The Spartans are treated for their injuries and taken to meet with the militia's officers. Eventually, John gets through to them, saying that they have other obligations beyond helping the militia and that their mission takes precedence even over fighting to take back the planet that they had to called home. Because Reach, if you didn't know, is where the Spartans' major training was made. So like John and Blue Team are from Reach, along with Noble Team, and many of the other Spartan 2s were trained on Reach. So it's most of the Spartans' homes from like the old days, not the Spartan 4s, obviously. However, it became evident that the only way to get his team back on the move toward their objective at Castle Base is to help the Vairi militia. Linda and Special Crew reach the base on their own, and they all organize a strategy to take the nearby settlement of New Mohacs. John contacts the UNSC. Oh, look, it shows up on the Reach map. Oh, we must have been here. In the Arani Basin of Aspos. So we must have played in that area. John contacts the UNSC Bucephalus. Their Prowler station in orbit, and requests assistance from the UNSC Infinity. Using the excavation equipment brought by Blue Team to bore passage under New Mohacs, the Spartans slip into the Banished occupied settlement under the cover of night. They split up, silently eliminating groups of enemy combatants and planting explosives across the base. John and Fred focus on sabotaging the Banished aircraft and armored vehicles, while Kelly and Linda prepare to disable the shield barrier that had been set up around New Mohacs. Soon, the explosives are detonated and members of the Vairi militia stream into the settlement to reinforce the Spartans. There are many casualties, but the settlement is once again taken by the militia. However, the Banished launches a massive counterattack that threatens the militia's hold on New Mohacs. Thankfully, the UNSC reinforcements arrive in time to stave off the encroaching Banished forces. Hundreds of Spartans, led by Commander Sarah Palmer, are deployed into the settlement via drop pods. With New Mohacs secured for the time being, Blue Team and the Special Crew are supplied with a Pelican and a wing of broadswords to escort them to Castle Base. Determining that the humans were headed for the Highland Mountains, Castor had his men comb the area for any sign of either the humans or the Forerunner subspace portal that they were looking for. While the Dokab oversees the search, Escharum himself, which is from the Infinite Villain, arrives in a Banished intrusion corvette to check on the Castor's progress. As Escharum berates Castor for his inability to locate the portal, the flight of human aircraft is seen approaching the remains of the Metashite Mountains. This is all evidence needed to find the portal, so Escharum sends quadrants of Banshees and Seraphs to deal with the approaching humans while the portal complex is excavated. Blue Team's Pelican is shot down near Castle Base, and Chapov is mortally wounded, leaving him a pilum to take a few Banshees with him. The Spartans and the remainder of Special Crew continue on. Reaching a rise overlooking the location of the Castle Base, they see the Banished already doing their work for them by excavating the entrance. With assistance from UNSC longswords, they surround area cleared of hostiles, save for a strike force that makes it down to the vertical shaft leading into the base. So what were they looking for originally? Blue Team have been ordered to retrieve potential war assets from the Castle Base. Doesn't really say what they were doing. They see the band already doing blah blah blah. Blue Team's Pelican is not. We already saw that. We already read all that. Descending thousands of meters into the planet, Blue Team realizes that the Banished is not after the Castle Base at all, but something beneath it. John remembers the Forerunner complex that they visited beneath the base during the fall of Reach. Yeah, in the book they visit here, but Noble Team visits it in the Reach game. After a tense vertical skirmish, the Spartans secure the entrance of Castle Base and the bottom of the shaft beyond. John and Kelly enter the ruins of the base and search for Dr. Halsey's laboratory, while Fred scouts the path the Banished had taken deeper into the mountains. Kelly enters the lab to be confronted by a surviving subroutine of the AI Kalmia. She provides the correct code of whatever it takes, and the subroutine allows her access to the assets, 3 cryobins, and a lockbox emblazoned with the symbol of Sword Base. Oh, Sword Base! That's from Reach. Yeah, there it is. Fred stealthily creeps down to the passage to be confronted by none other than Oni operative Veda Lopez. Office of Naval Intelligence Agent who formerly served as a special inspector of the Ministry of Protection of Planet Gao. She defected from the ministry. Oh, she defected. Okay. Who gives him a message to relay to Unity? Aatrox has returned to the galaxy. And Veda and her team of Spartan 3 ferrets. Oh, Spartan 3 ferrets. Are covert special operations consisting of Ash, Olivia, and Mark have infiltrated the Keepers of the One Freedom, posing as members of the Faithful. She disappears in the darkness and Fred regroups with Blue Team. Escarum, Castor, and Gadagai and the Keepers and various banished forces gather in a portal room to witness Aatrox's return. The leader of the Banished exits the portal in a lich that lands in front of the welcome party. Aatrox and a number of his lieutenants exit the lich and meet with Escarum and then Castor. The Dokab makes it known that he intends to abandon the Banished and travel to the Ark, which he and the Keepers consider sacred and the location in which begins the Great Journey. For this treachery, Gadogai is ordered to kill Castor as Aatrox and his forces vacate the portal room to leave Reach and aboard Escarum's corvette. However, Castor convinces Gadogai to join the Keepers, where he will be welcomed with open arms. They and the Keeper forces, including Veda and her Ferret team, then leave for the Ark with the intent of lighting the rings. Holy shit! And Blue Team and the most Unity forces still on the planet return to Unity's Infinity to escape the system. The Spartans deliver the assets to Dr. Halsey, who plans to use them to give humanity a much-needed edge during the created crisis. So that's how she creates the weapon. She uses because she created Cortana on Reach in her lab, down in that Forerunner site below the surface. So that's how they make the weapon, who looks just like Cortana. It's all of her original Cortana research is there. Just as the Infinity prepares to enter slipspace, sensors reveal the imminent arrival of one of Cortana's guardians, alerted by the increasingly intense conflict raging on the planet. The Infinity escapes, but Reach will fall once more, this time under Cortana's Iron Fist. Again. So Aatrox is alive? They talk about Aatrox like he's dead. And it sounds like that he went to the Ark. Right? Because it sounds like he went to the Ark with Escarum. I understand the whole Banished conflict through Halo Wars 2, but what exactly happened between the hand of Halo 5 and Infinity Banished going at it? Isn't I aware there's no talk about Banished in Halo 5. Everyone's hiding from the Guardians, Banished split between their forces on the Ark and the groups they either left behind or just who joined later on. Their big force was pulling up Forerunner artifacts to reconnect with the Ark, which they managed, if only for a brief few minutes on Reach. They Banished are not well organized or even unified. They're a bunch of loose factions crudely pulled into a line by a rough ideology. Palmer, Halsey, and the Arbiter are stuck on saying Helios. That's not true. Halsey and Palmer are on board the Infinity right before the Infinity starts. Palmer leads the Spartan 4 and ODST strike force to help Blue Team liberate Reach from the Banished and the Keepers of the blah 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 blah. Okay, so Palmer leads the Spartan 4 and ODST strike force. Okay, so she's on Reach. Somehow Palpatine returned. So that wraps up the novels, the novelizations. Okay, so now I've got a better picture, but maybe it's in one of the novels, maybe it's in New Blood, because it looks like the Buck storyline seems to be more important. But maybe one of the other novels, I'm not gonna read any of those. I understand now all the questions I had. I just don't know when they learned about Cortana and what her plan was with the Guardians. My other thing is, again, so I know I read somewhere that with her, the intel that she made that she got from Reach, she makes the weapon, which is basically a clone of Cortana, but is designed to not have as much free will, I guess, or is designed to kill Cortana, basically, but it's a copy of her. And I thought I read that Chief deployed her, but in Infinite, it seems like that he's met her for the first time. I don't know. We'll find out in Halo Infinite after we do Halo Wars 2, to get more information on the Banished. And we'll probably end up doing that tomorrow or Friday. So check out stuff for that. That seems to me like where that's all gonna go. But I also I don't know. These are things I'm gonna talk about when we're watching Infinite, because I don't want to spoil things if you guys are watching it for the first time with me. We're gonna talk about more about that. But it seems like everybody we know and we care about is on the Infinity, minus Buck and Alpha 9, which is the ODST squad. So the ODST squad is safe somewhere else, it seems like. However, Palmer, Halsey, and Lansky, and all those people, Majestic, and everyone we know, and Blue Team, and the rest of Osiris are on the Infinity, it seems like. So, yeah, that's where it sounds like to me, is who was on the Infinity at the time, based on the information I've pulled. So, thank you guys so much for joining me today. But thank you guys so much for joining me for the stream today. If you guys liked it, give a follow on Facebook, give a follow on Twitch. Facebook is Lightning D27 official. Twitch is Lightning D27. If you want to see the stuff or you missed stuff and you want to come back and watch more, Lightning D27 on YouTube. You give it a subscription, you get notified when new videos go up. The whole Halo franchise up to Halo Infinite at this point is up on YouTube right now. We're going to do Halo Wars 2 and add those cutscenes up, and then Halo Infinite once we start and finish that playthrough. Thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you guys in the next stream later.